I'm Don Dunn, and I used to keep Chris LaGrange in line, especially when he picked on Jimmy. I co-hosted for a while on the show, both in the city and on Long Island. The things that I like the best, well, the back and forth on certain issues that we had, some dialogue, even some arguing between us. You know, Jimmy commented on it. There was some comedy elements in there. It was just a good experience. It was just like people sitting around talking. It wasn't like you were portraying it to anybody. It could have been a conversation that happened there. Could have been a conversation that happened in a room. Could have been a conversation that happened at a bar stool. The thing I liked about the show was it was very on point with some common issues between organized labor, but also regular working people. Kind of bridged the gap. And it was on topic. It wasn't stuff that was outdated. It wasn't the old same rhetoric. It was all sorts of new angles and how things fit together today, more or less than, you know, rehashing old stories or rehashing old people's theories on you know, organized labor and the middle class. And not to sound selfish, you had done a lot of shows when we were having some issues with Verizon that, you know, stick with me, whether it was the battle over the VoiceLink product. That, you know, UCOMM Radio was very instrumental in helping get that message out to consumers and fellow unions and workers, or the stuff leading up to potential strikes against Verizon. You know, those things stick out in my head, but more because they're closer to heart. But there were a lot of things. I enjoyed our time when we were talking to some of the leaders from the trade unions, teachers unions. You know, it gives you a different perspective on, you know, the issues that are common and the issues that are not common. Helps you bridge the gaps. You know, I listen to sports talk a lot. I'll listen to occasionally some of the business related stuff when we have union leaders on. But to be quite honest with you, they don't do enough of it, so they don't hold my attention. You know, being with CWA, we get noticed sometimes that, you know, President Chris Shelton will be on this show at this time, or, you know, Vice President Dennis Traynor will be. So you tune in, you listen, you want to hear the point of view, or if it's not one of our leaders, if it's somebody important, you know, Mario Salento or anybody like that, you listen. But like I said, the problem is UCOMM gave that forum on a weekly basis where these other shows, they're few and far between, and they don't portray the union leaders in such a good light. It always makes it look like there's always a complaint, always a fight, always, you know, some issue where that's not always what it's about. You did something a little different where you also talked about the positive things that the union members did and the union leaders. You know, I remember you making the announcement, they're your Little League coaches, they're you know, your people that volunteer at your church and all that other stuff. That's important to know too, that it's not, you know, just some labor leader spouting off all the time that you turn the channel on.
The censoring from the radio stations when we did our shows, how'd that make you feel?
Sucked. But it was some times where your colorful language actually had to be reined in a little bit, which I understood. We were on terrestrial radio. But other than that, you know, as far as, you know, I don't believe in, you know, editing for the content of something. I mean, if you say something that's out of line that needs to be, you know, reined back a little, I get it. You know, it might be too risque. But content, I disagree with totally. You know, we all support freedom of speech. At least I thought we did, until the last president got elected. But, you know, other than that, the censorship part of it, yeah, I understand sometimes. I did it myself. Occasionally used a word I shouldn't have used or whatever. But the content part of it, I don't agree in dialing it back. It's kind of what gave the show a little bit of a personality. I just think that labor leaders have to refocus their resources and energies to something like UCOMM Radio used to provide for them. It was a real vehicle that could be used to their discretion to get their word out. It was something that really people should have rallied around in the labor community to make sure that voice is constantly out there, not just on a passing basis. So I think that was a mistake on, you know, the side of labor leaders that, you know, didn't do enough to help support the show. My time there, I spent a lot of time there with Jimmy and yourself, and then occasionally with other people. But, you know, some of the funnier things I'll say about the show that, you know, leading up to getting into the you know, that mindset of what you're going to talk about and what it was. The funniest conversation sometimes happened during the breaks, where we'd get started and you would get mad and tell, well, wait a minute, don't say that now. Wait till we're on the air. Say that on the air. Say that on the air. And then it would start a whole other thing. But that back and forth, I didn't realize that, you know, with the union members from CWA that listened to the show later on, I actually heard more about us being on the air once it was off than when we were on. So I never realized that we had, you know, a decent following who liked some of that stuff. I mean, you know, people like different things here. Oh, I like when you talk about, you know, how greedy the corporations are. And then somebody would say, oh, I like it when you don't villainize everybody, but you give different perspectives and try to educate people. And then you have people that, oh, I like it when you two idiots argue all morning. That's funny, too. So, I mean, it would definitely offer something for everybody.
Thank you, Donnie.